The moment Israeli earthquake bomb hit Syria in heaviest blitz on region in 12 years, it registered on the Richter scale. So they're actually saying that whatever they just used, it actually registered on the Richter scale so big that they actually think that this is, or calling it, an earthquake bomb. This is the dramatic moment. A colossal explosion erupted in Syria, marking the heaviest strikes to hit the region in over a decade, and even registering on the Richter scale. Astounding videos showed a giant mushroom cloud fireball filling the sky alongside deafening sounds, with claims that the blast was caused by an Israeli strike. Now, I am no rocket scientist. I'm no genius here, but it almost looks like a nuclear weapon. Could this have actually been a tactical? The only time I've seen these big explosives actually trigger an earthquake is when they're testing for nukes. So I'm surprised. Is this a cover-up for an actual nuclear weapon? Again, just a question I have. The explosion is believed to have taken place in northwestern Syria near the city of Tartus, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. Now, just hypothetically, and I know they're saying it's not, and it's just a really big, strong one, like a Moab or a Foab, these things are massive, right? But say if it was, what if it was the first use of a tactical and nobody really knew it, or they were covering that up? Could they have done it in such a way, or could they have a new weapon that's almost as bad, but it does not have much of the after effects? This is something that's kind of been theorized in even movies, something that would do just as much damage, but without the radiation for 100 years. Just a curious thought. And as far as Syria, I thought they were being taken over by this, HTS group that united all of these people. In just 11 days, they took the country out. It had nothing to do with Israel and the U.S. They were just, kind of opportunists. The same opportunists that let, the guy that's on the $10 million most wanted list basically let him do this, right? And even let CNN interview him. So this explosive is pretty wild, and we don't know exactly what the heck is going on here, but they revealed how it actually caused a 3.0 magnitude earthquake. That's big. Even for a Moab, Foab type of thing, that's massive. Now, that's not a big earthquake for us here in the West Coast. We don't even feel a 3.0. But to have one, that's usually Earth making a 3.0, not a man-made explosive. We're going to talk about this and so much more tonight. We're going to talk about the back page news that you should be paying attention to. Meanwhile, everybody else is going, whoa, what's that plane? Look, it's a plane. It's a drone. It's CIA. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, so hey, as far as the big explosion there, why don't we call it what we should be calling it? This is just my opinion, but the U.S. and Israel just took out Syria with the help of paid ops. It's so funny that just months ago, they had this payment of $325 million towards UKR. And then after that, there was a $1 billion payment that went out. And I pointed out the thought that this is a straight up transfer. The United States has money, and when they send $1 billion anywhere, usually the bureaucratic system makes you go, hey, where's that going? And even though they do a lot of shady things with it, most of the time they have to go, we're sending it here. And then you actually see the money leave our pockets and go into somebody else's. But once it goes into somebody else's, we don't know whose pockets it goes in. Right after that, I after the $1 billion transfer, I said, hey, you remember just a few weeks ago there was a $325 million or $375 million one? What if that was used to pay groups? Like, they could have helped these groups along. Now it's much more accepted, but when I said that, everybody was like, no, this is these groups united under they all hate this big group that they took out in Syria and Bashar. But then, like a couple days after that, they literally come out with a story saying that UKR, the people that we're complaining about sending so much money to Ukraine, they ended up sending drones weeks before it happened, which lines up roughly with that $325 million. They actually they have so much stuff that we've been sending them. They're not worried about Russia, so much so that they were sending drones to HTS to use in this offensive. And I'm like, how is this not so freaking obvious to everybody? Again, I don't understand it. But now Israel hit that with that crazy big bomb. Let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I am doing just fine.
So this thing was massive, right? I mean, I don't know. Personally, that looks like a mushroom cloud to me, like a tactical nuke just went off.
Yeah,
is this bigger than a FOAB?
It certainly feels that way. I mean, it's a massive hit on the Richter scale there. So yeah, I would love to see what type of radiation readings are coming out of those areas. You know, tacticals don't typically have as much radiation as, say, the big ones do, but at the same time, you know, I'm not saying that's what it is. It probably isn't, but certainly people are going to be looking all over the place because they're like, this thing was massive.
And now they've listed, they're coming out with some of the numbers. It has pounded military planes. This is Israel, just Israel, not the U.S. The U.S. has also been doing strikes. Pounded military planes and ships belonging to a toppled president with 300 airstrikes in just a week. Would you not call, if Bashar al-Assad was still in office, would that not be a war with Syria? I mean, that's straight up war. We're at war. We're not even at war though. We just took them the hell out. You know, the groups HTS, they say there's 5,000 to 10,000 members. How many people did they have to take over? I wonder, how big was Syria's military before all of this went down? How did they take all of this out? They say it's because, they did the CNN interview where she asked all of the questions that people are like, wait, but that doesn't work. Isn't HTS like 5,000, 10,000? The lady specifically asked, like, well, a lot of people are looking and they're like, well, how did you actually accomplish this? You know, it's a very fast taking over. Yeah. And he's like, well, a lot of institutions and things have changed, and now we have backing, and we really united a lot of groups. These same groups that were getting sent, you know, whatever chunks of money, 20 million, 50 million, 80 million behind closed doors, and then all of a sudden they united, right? Well, call it what it is. They united because of some secret money went out. That's just what I think. And then they all got together and they did this in 11 days. They toppled Syria. This is a message. This is a secret war between U.S. and Russia. I mean, it's not that secret, but it is to a lot of people that aren't paying attention. They think this is totally unrelated. Have you talked to people about this that really do not see the angle that this was directly... This is a proxy between the U.S., Israel, and our allies against the Middle East, and, of course, with Russia. This hurts all of them. Russia had to pull out. Russia knew the night before that they took it over. They said to their citizens, you might be hunted. And, oh, no, that's right. No. Sorry, they said citizens get out. I forgot about that. Just a few days ago, Friday, I think, we covered that Russia said people in America, Russians in America should get out because they might be hunted down. So I don't know what they're planning as far as a response goes, but I would keep your head on a freaking swivel for the next month. Even if it's an op or something else, same timing as all this drone menagerie is going on. So, again, give me your opinion down below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you again, Inquiring Minds. Ilea, wonderful mod. Thank you again for modding tonight. Make sure to thank your mods by dropping an M in the chat right now. Black Clover Digital, thank you for the support this week. Sweatnam Ministries, Sarah. And, of course, Danish Girl, thank you. I hope you are doing well. Kenny Crowder, one of my first subscribers, has continued to pop in 6 years later. Thank you. And then... thank you, I can't even say that, Saratasha, thank you for subscribing. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Amar. Thank you, I can't say that one either. Katushiaka, thank you so much for subscribing, and I apologize. I literally took a butcher knife to your name. All right. And so let's go over the next piece. Putin accuses West of pushing Russia to its red lines, forcing it to respond. Dex, we've kind of talked about this angle for a very long time. Is Russia telling the truth?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, it's almost like we're getting tired of hearing him say this. But he did come out and say specifically the West is pushing Russia to its quote-unquote red lines. The situation is publicly made clear that it will not tolerate. He told in a meeting at defense officials that Russia was watching the U.S. development and potential deployment of short and medium range missiles with concern. And he said if that happens, that Russia is going to lift all of its voluntary restrictions on the deployment of its own missiles. So if the U.S. went ahead and deployed any such missiles, they're going to do it. So I know we've talked about the fact that they've also paid attention to what's going on in Japan and potentially moving missiles into the areas around Japan and the contested islands there, as it relates to the U.S. fortifying Japan. And obviously we've been fortifying Guam, our own location, but also fortifying Taiwan and other locations throughout the Pacific there. So he has an interest in that as much as he has an interest in the repositioning and everything that goes on with NATO around his border.
And as far as pushing him to his red lines, a lot of people see this two different ways in our community. If you say anything that is, say, questioning what the U.S. is doing versus Russia, they go, well, are you carrying Putin's water? But at the same time, many people see that there is a lot of shady business going on intergovernmentally, as far as there's good guys and bad guys within that are fighting with each other. So if the bad guys are sometimes in the decision-making pool, then you wonder, did they just start something with a power that we didn't really need to start something with? What is your opinion? I would love to hear it. Let me know either here or pop over to Twitter at Marfoogle. You can also see the video I'm going to share tonight. Wade just shared a great video with me that really goes over the basics. It is the best way. I could have never put it into better articulated words on how to spot an op. And what is so awesome about this video is going over just the regular things, just him saying it out loud. This gentleman reminded me of how we have these crystal balls, how we spot these things almost every time. Because, you know, a year later, everybody finds out, oh, this is fake. And people would look at our community and go, how did they know? Like, how did they predict this, or how did they see it? It's not prediction. It's spotting BS and knowing it's most likely the opposite of what they're saying, because if you spot the signs, like the coordination of medias, the constant message, how they purposely all across the board say the same thing. You've all seen the video of all the newscasts saying the same exact message. That is called an op. So this video I'm going to share with you tonight is going to be over on Twitter, so make sure to pop over there. And again, credit to Wages for texting that to me. One of the best watches from a gentleman who essentially trains people and does college classes. And it also reminded me, they teach college classes on these things, so this isn't a secret. these kind of operations, before you go in and get into CIA, you have to take certain types of classes. There's people that teach that, and this gentleman is one of them. This isn't like secret, top secret Q clearance stuff. This is stuff that they teach in college classes for these guys to go on to the next step. They teach it in school. You might get extra training once you get into those places. But again, it is pretty public how they do these things. It's just really having the mind and the mindfulness to spot it. So it was a great video, and I tell you what, I do believe everybody should see that, because I could not have done a better job than this gentleman. But yeah, the red lines, do you believe that we are pushing us into a war? Think about this. It's going to make some people a lot of money. It's going to reduce the amount of people on the planet, which there are a ton of people who absolutely hate our guts. And by our guts, I mean regular people with a bank account under $1 billion. They do not believe we should have the same air. Actually, they believe that we are stealing air from the trees, which, again, all of us are, but we're actually creating them CO2 as well. Or we're basically taking it away from the earth, right? But at the same time, they do deserve to breathe that air, right? And then let's see here. We've got China's army releases a hit list of U.S. naval targets that would be attacked during a potential conflict with America. Yet nobody is talking about China. If you notice, and I've noticed this too, whenever we talk about China, anything, people are just not interested. I really think that there is so much less fear of that country than there should be. Most of you guys are on the same page, but you will probably know, if you talk to friends and family, because media does not cover it, it really doesn't have as much fear as all of the stuff that is now the distraction, right? People are more afraid of the drones, which are now being accredited to Iran, when in reality, China's the one that has the technology to do that. If it was an adversary, that would be China. They have new technology that can stealth their airplanes against 2 different kinds of radars. They have the technology, which I just showed you guys over on X, a thing that could knock a drone right out of the sky with a button, microwave technology. They have the technology as well, autonomous drones like this, and the mothership technology, an actual huge drone that releases car-sized drones out of it and can go long term and has a whole system of refueling and repowering, which again is all coming out as we go. Nobody's afraid of, though, China, because China is invested in the media companies. China is invested in the food companies. China is invested in Hollywood. So you're not going to see negative things about China. Heck, if we put things too much patriotic stuff in a movie, you're going to see them go, hey, can you remove the Statue of Liberty? It's too patriotic. China, it's like the last 30 minutes of the movie. Yeah, we don't care. Can you just like edit it out and have Spider-Man floating in the air for the last 30 minutes? I mean, that's kind of what he does, right? He can just be holding on to some other flagpole or something. That's the kind of stuff that happens. And oh, hey, can you write positive articles about the Spratly Islands? The New York Times, all these other New York Post, all of them. Sure, just need a certain amount of money. Now, when you have, of course, these companies getting paid by a source, and it is become how their bread and butter is churning, then are they going to say negative things about them? The same premise goes for, hey, are you going to see negative things about, farm on a channel like CNN, which every morning show goes sponsored by Fies? No, you're not. So with this, it's like they're releasing a literal hit list, and I bet you it's gonna go up and then down one day of talk, and then nobody's gonna talk about this. This is the back page stuff people should be paying attention to. China is the only threat other than Russia's nukes, that we should really even worry about, because there's really only 2 peer-to-peer adversaries, China and Russia. And China is all of a sudden, there's a lot of information coming out which backs up my theory that they are not going broke, that they actually have a higher GDP than they say. Economists are coming out and saying it. Experts have now backed up this economist saying, yeah, it looks like they were lying about how much money they have. They're actually doing way better than they thought. At least that's what's being claimed. So if they've got tons of money, they've got a giant military, and if they're not on the border of bankruptcy in their totalitarian system, then that's something to worry about when they're buying up property all over the country. They're developing technology at breakneck speeds, and they're developing specific technology to basically bypass all of our military. You better hope we have 30-year advanced technology in the workshop, that we've got alien craft in there that we're reverse engineering right now, because we're going to need it. Dex, talk about the hit list. And this thing just got released. They're basically talking about all of their targets.
Yeah, certainly. So the Army there has identified the U.S. radar, sensors, and other communication equipment that it would target during a potential conflict. It published this out through one of their papers, and it went out through a defense industry conversion, which is the name of the magazine. It's sponsored and supervised by the state, so they obviously knew what they were putting out in there. Some of the targets, most vital targets, are on the list. A Navy and Spy 1 phased array on AEGIS ships. Also, they listed a lot of other targets specifically to different areas. Another primary target identified was the Navy's E-2C Hawkeye early warning aircraft, which is vital components of our air carriers' defense systems, and many others. So they basically published out this hit list, as they're calling it.
Now, I want to point out something we covered here, and nobody else really talks about this stuff, is the technologies that they're coming out with. And I think a lot of my peers don't want to talk about this stuff because they don't want to be looked at like, oh, you're trying to glorify all of China's accomplishments. No, you don't underestimate your enemy, and you don't sleep on their freaking advancements, especially when you have the last 4 years going the way it has been. You need to be pointing out when, hey, these guys are ahead. Our own Pentagon is stating that they are ahead in these exact areas. And these exact areas, it just so happens that drones and drone technology is now the new battlefield. So if we're behind in the new battlefield, we've got ancient things that are, hey, they're super high tech. Well, if you've got some sort of technology that can basically undo any benefit that they have, then you're absolutely screwed. Our submarines, if they really have a satellite that can use microwave technology and spot them anywhere in the ocean, we are screwed, because they also say they have a technology that can knock out our early warning systems. And I don't know if they're knocking out because of a statement that they said in this piece. They said that the Army reportedly plans to approach the strike group with drones and create false signals that would confuse or overwhelm the target's electronic warfare systems. Now, if you've seen some of these drone swarms, they could put, I'm not even exaggerating, they could put 1 million drones in the sky that would look like a cloud of locusts coming. What system on a current ship would be able to knock out all of them? They could do an EMP, they could do something else. But what if China has come up with the tech to knock out those things first? What if they actually have committed to this technology? What if they just put 3 giant rockets up into space? And if you remember this, these rockets were so big that they couldn't control the descent of the parts that fell off. So we all of our community tracked all 3 of them. And each time they said, oh, this is really dangerous, really irresponsible. These rockets are coming down and they could hit anywhere. They could hit the U.S. They could fall down in Kansas like Superman. When we followed all of those, that was loading up the 3 pieces to their new space station. And that is currently up. They say that their space station is a weapon, that it is used for that. Our Space Force commanders, 3 generals now, have said that there is a space war in space right now above our heads, that it is straight up being weaponized. We found out that directed energy was real after years of our community saying, oh, this is happening. We think this is a thing. They said, oh, you're crazy, you're kooky. But then the Pentagon came out and the Department of Defense straight up did a press conference saying, Yeah, not only is it real, China and Russia have both weaponized space with it. They now have satellites that can knock out our satellites. They now have satellites that can map our ground. They now have satellites that can use microwave and directed energy technology to basically hit us. I mean, this is the rod of God type of stuff that we've been talking about for years. Dex, another thing here is they're saying to approach strike groups with drones, create false signals that would confuse or overwhelm the target's electronic warfare system. This sounds like a realistic thing if you've ever seen any of these videos of these huge swarms.
Certainly, and it's something else they said they were doing with satellites, where they were going to beam up information to confuse the satellite signals or overwhelm the satellite signals to stop them as well.
That's another thing that we ended up covering. It says the Chinese military in its report alleged by mimicking the correct signaling method, it could infiltrate the CEC network as a cooperative unit and launch attacks. Now, to me, the only reason I doubt this is because they're saying it. Why would they say this out loud? Why would they say that unless they already know that the U.S. and that the U.S. government knows, and now they're just putting it out to the public to let the public know, hey, we're coming for you. If you put fear into the mind of a country, that's a good thing. I keep looking at Xi Jinping, and I see a lot of Genghis Khan in him. His previous ruler did not like Genghis Khan, and actually, I believe, even punished Xi's father for being a fan of Genghis Khan, because there was all of this kind of a different rating in China. Different cultures looked at Genghis Khan bad. I think that Xi Jinping actually loves Genghis Khan. The Belt and Road Initiative is roughly modeled after Genghis Khan's. I always forget the name of it. The Yellow Road.
The Silk Road.
Yes, the Silk Road, where Genghis Khan is actually one of the most successful, war generals ever in history. He took more lives than anyone ever. But there's positives that they put in Chinese history, or at least in some Chinese history. They talk about how once he would go in, he would send in scouts first. He would send in people to live in villages and cause disarray and have them start fighting with each other. They would be fighting with each other so much so that when the troops came in, or when the brigades came in, that they would be half destroyed already because they would be fighting with themselves. Sound familiar? They would also have information, the earliest information conflict ever, and then they would go in and take out the towns. They took over more of the world than any other country in the world too. So I think Xi is going along the lines of Genghis Khan. I think he's modeling his world takeover for it. And again, their heavenly mandate, they're in their culture and in their I don't know if it is a religion, but it literally says that China and Xi should be number one. They do not want to settle for anything else. There is no number two. There is no number three. So what do you think they're about to do? Let me know in the comments down below. Hey, thank you, Stephen McMahon. Thank you for the support. I appreciate that. Says this might be a distract from the attempt on, who is that? Gosh, I can't. Can you read the attempt on who is that? What's the name on that? Look how many people can't afford him to be prez. On T-Man. Stephen McMahon. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of things it could be distracting from, but that's why I said tonight, even in a couple stories here, we've got more back page news that everybody needs to know about. And then Kenny Crowder says, just have to do it. Stay safe. Foogle fam. Night. Adam Dex mods. Love your way. Kenny Crowder, I hope you watch the replay. There's really important stories coming up in 2 stories from now. And then Ilea, thank you for the support last show. Dex, I need to add a battery in here real quick. Will you cover Russian blimps, and then I'll go back to the one. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So apparently, we have Russian blimps now appearing on NATO's border. We'll get you a picture of that in just a moment. But they're literally these airship type balloons that are technically blimps. But the white blimp began to circle the skies near the Russian border. Estonia police weren't quite sure what to make of it. So the strange Zeppelin-like aircraft has been spotted on the Russian side of the frontier near Narva and a Russian speaking Estonia town on the far edges of the NATO territory. After some debate, Estonia police chose to ignore the blimp, but people aren't sure if there's something else going on here. Probably is nothing, but when you've got so much tension built between Russia and NATO, anything happening near the border, and especially anything happening in the sky, whether it's a drone, missiles, or even blimps, is going to raise heads. And people are wondering what may be going on. Is there something else to this, especially as it relates to Estonia being one of the first states that would probably be attacked or invaded by Russia should they try to advance anything on their borders, because it is the pathway to Kaliningrad and to get to recapture their land there, not capture it, it's theirs, but bring it back into the fold of the motherland.
Unknown sender says 99 red blimps. Yeah, 99 red balloons. That's my sister's favorite song to sing karaoke. Let's see here. I have 121 Japanese newspaper that I used to use Google Translate, and it has to do with satellite weapons that we have in the sky. Oh yeah, we have all of these same things. Here's my only worry is that we have been sabotaged from within over a certain number of years, where yeah, we were totally ahead secretly, like behind the scenes, we were totally ahead. You pay the right people, you get people in the right spots. What if that has been destroyed? What if that advantage somehow has been, kind of chunked off piece by piece with the pickaxe? 99 Luftballons. Yes, exactly. Which those blimps, just to go back to this picture here, these things, I believe the bigger ones can carry a lot of weight too. Isn't it? I mean, doesn't it look kind of like a float in a parade, like some sort of weird cartoon character leaning over, running to headbutt a wall or something? Pretty goofy looking. But again, they said, let's see here. Here was a quote that I wanted to put in here. 2 years ago, we had 18 border incidents, and this year we had 96. Said Mr. Belitsev, who sports a blue and yellow Ukrainian flag with the slogan "Glory to Ukraine" on his uniform epaulets. We have seen constant attempts to destabilize the situation. Now, whether you believe this or not, the messaging is pretty clear. They're already setting up. They're saying, hey, they're constantly pushing us right now. At the same time, the same day that Russia says, well, they're pushing us to our red lines, so we'll have to respond. A lot of people look and they go, okay, they're playing devil's advocate. What if they're purposely pushing for this to happen? And maybe it will. I guess we will see. Now, before we move on, I want to make sure go check out EMP Shield. If there is an adversarial attack from either China, Russia, or North Korea, or any of these guys, you can actually protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, anything that you have that runs on a motor, you most likely want to get protected. This will also protect you against a Carrington-level event from the sun, so a solar event. So both multiple EMP strikes from any adversary or a solar event, you will have a car to get home to your family or get out to bug out. And then once you get home, if you actually protect your generators, you will have a generator that continues to run. You will have a home that will have all of the devices wired in within 250 linear feet, all protected. So that way you get home to your family, turn on your protected generator. Even if the power grid doesn't come back on, you'll be set and all of your devices will be unfried. Because keep in mind, even if the grid doesn't come back on, they've quoted anywhere from 12 to 24 months that we could be without power if they try to knock out our entire grid system. Even if that did happen, keep in mind, if you have your own backup power, if you have your own solar and gas, then you'll be able to keep it going on your own. So again, go over and check this out, marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. Highly recommend if you want something, and if you're looking into getting a generator, go to Bug Out, Grid Down Bug Out. Again, that's on our website as well. Just go to, again, the deals. You'll also see that there as well. That is a really, really high capacity generator system. It goes all the way up to power walls that you could power an entire home or a mansion with. So go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. It can be put in your car in less than 10 minutes, and you'll know that you'll be able to get home or get out. All right, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. You get $50 off per device. It's a giant discount on top of any sale that they are doing. So if they've got Black Fridays going, they've got Valentine's Day, they've got whatever sale they're running, it will always be on top of that. Again, make sure to use that code MARF. It also gives us credit. We're independent. We're on our own. We thank you guys for mostly sharing us out. But if you do support, we cannot say thank you enough. All right, and then we have U.S. in direct contact with designated group HDS. Blinken admits. Big surprise. That was sarcasm. Dex, what the
I'm surprised it's not William Burns. Like, why is it Blinken talking about it? It should be the director of CIA, right? But yeah, apparently, like we all knew this. We've been saying it all along, but they've come out and admitted it now. So the U.S. has made direct contact, that at least covers their tracks for all the conversations they've been having, apparently with HTS and other parties there. So it says we've been in contact with HTS and with other parties, according to U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. Discussing the talks with Arab diplomats. So this is the first official acknowledgement that the administration has had any interaction with that group. I'm sure they would have denied it all along, and I'm sure they would have just used the three-letter agency to have all their interactions, so they don't have to say that they're having interactions with that group, and they can. That's what that agency is there for, to do those black ops or covert or what is it called, plausible deniability, so they can keep themselves clean. But it's so obvious that the U.S., Israel, and others, the West, so to speak, anybody that's aligned against Russia and Iran, has absolutely probably helped in many ways, from communications to money to weapons to everything, and even strategic launches and strikes that both Israel and the U.S. have done all during this time that HTS was taken over. Of course, we said we're in there taking out some bad guys from the IS group, and Israel would say the same thing. They're going after, Assad's old chemical weapons or whatever. But we know that it's a little bit more than that. We're not dumb.
Now, is this something from wearing these head coverings all the time? Do their ears poke out? And this is my thought, because I've seen. Do their ears poke out because of the constant pressure on it? That the ears, if you wore that your entire life, heck, I've seen the going on around Twitter that gamers that wear headphones all day, streaming 10 hours a day, that they have an indent in their head. So I would think that, your ears would be shaped. But look, this is the other guy. Remember this guy? We actually helped this guy out. He had handshakes with our presidents. Remember him? He was number one on that card deck. He was the guy they said was behind 2001. What if this gentleman, who is currently in the good graces, goes back to his old ways? He was part of Al-Qaeda. He was part of the Al-Nus Front. It's crazy. Gosh, he almost... does he not have kind of a resemblance? Not just the beard, like the nose, the eyes, the ears. But I'm thinking maybe that's just coincidental. Like he's a son or a cousin or something. He was in that group, but they're not related, right? But of course, this guy, we know, was dumped in the water in the dark of night They did that. They were doing it for our safety. They wanted to make sure there was no, what was it, a martyr. So they didn't want any place where people go. So the Navy, after they took him out in that top secret op, which totally is on camera, but we're not allowed to see that, they dumped him in the middle of the water in the middle of the night in the ocean. So that's good enough for me. Not saying that is the same. I'm literally not. He would be way too old. But is there, something there related, family? You know how these things work. Kind of royalty of every country. It seems like, oh, they're related to this, they're related to that. It's kind of crazy. But I think I'm not blown away that they're in direct contact with HDS. Were you guys blown away by this little factoid? I've been saying it since day one. But again, and then former CEO Eric Schmidt of this, the daddy company of this platform, calls for unplugging AI systems when they reach a certain capability. I agree, but too bad China is not going to do that same thing. Dex, you're our resident tech expert. Eric Schmidt, of course, he has actually come out and said some pretty big things over the last 6 months. Was Eric Schmidt the guy who said that in the future our supercomputers are going to be surrounded by weapons like straight out of Terminator? Was that him?
Yeah, I would think it was him, or if not, it might have been the other founder. But nonetheless, when you look at the chip that came out of this platform's parent company just the other day, that we talked about, that new it's a quantum computing chip that is just incredibly faster than any supercomputer could be in an entire lifespan of our universe. That when you take that type of technology and you pair it with algorithms that can learn, we're entering a very scary position. And I think that's what you got to pay attention to here is, as the tech continues to evolve, not just the software that they're writing, but the tech that can run it, because eventually the software that they're writing can become smarter than the person writing the software and can write its own software. Does that make sense? It's sort of kind of like we've heard them create their own languages and start talking to one another. Well, pretty soon they'll be able to create their own code to advance their own capabilities and deploy it across hardware. And as long as they have the electricity, the power, the keys, and the credentials to hardware to do that and access to that, then it will start to replicate. And I think that's the thing you got to we got to be very cautious about. And I understand what he's suggesting here is there's certain dangers, certain levels that we get to, that they ought to be willing to pull the plug and literally turn off these systems when they reach that level. It certainly may be, a endeavor to reach that level. Like scientifically, you want to know, can we get smart enough with our capabilities to reach that level? But then once we get there, can we stop?
Will it be too late? Part. It might be too late at that point, right?
It could be. It just depends on what that system has. I mean, if it's a computer that's not connected to, anything that it can replicate itself on, then it may not. But if it actually finds ways to get itself and access and recreate itself, or create better versions of itself, through distributed networks and across multiple computers, and turn itself into some form of a virus or a malware that gets infected across computers all over the world, and now all of a sudden it's a giant hive mind living on its own, advancing itself. That's a real scary thought. I mean, imagine if the only way to stop it was to turn everything off, completely lights out.
Automated. Yeah, I mean, if you look at look at these factories. Say you have factories like this, which now you have massive strikes going on the East Coast because these workers, the dock workers, they're talking about how the docks in just a few short years are going to be completely automated. Everything, the containers being put off, being transferred, robotically unloaded, everything will be done. There is not one thing that between the Optimus bots, Optimus bots, between these robotic arm manufacturing, there's nothing that the computer will not be able to do. This is straight out of a sci-fi movie. This is something so unbelievable that it's really something we can't wrap our heads around. That same quantum chip, like Dex was talking about, that same quantum chip said that we are living in a multiverse. Like, where is this going? I think that this is evil. Remember their old saying? They said, what was it? Never do evil, or don't do evil. They got rid of it officially. Like, they just disappeared it. They're like, well, we're kind of doing evil now. So I guess we just got to get rid of that slogan. And then Mark Zuckerberg sets aside his feud with Elon Musk to go after Sam Altman's AI. Dex, I'll also let you cover this. And, of course, AI has some interesting... We'll show you here in just 2 seconds. There's a very creepy story. A guy just disappeared. Some are saying that he got taken out. We'll talk about that here in a second. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, certainly. So, Elon and Mark Zuckerberg have had long-standing beef from AI and how they run their respective social media platforms. But what they're suggesting now, and it's also interesting because you're also seeing these two sort of pony up to the dawn as well, right? Obviously, we know Elon is there front and center, but we've seen Zuck pledge $1 million to the Inog and, kiss the ring, as the media likes to call it when you travel to Mar-a-Lago. But we're now seeing that they're looking to team up against each other, or with each other, to sort of help push against this notion of OpenAI and what OpenAI is doing. So the feud that they've had for over a decade has even threatened to get physical. But they now agree on one thing, that their competitor OpenAI should remain a nonprofit. So for those of you that don't know or don't remember, OpenAI currently is a nonprofit company. It was founded by a bunch of founders who put money into it to create an open platform for AI, because the thought was, if it was open and public and everyone could see what was going on, it would be easy for everyone to, judge it, protect it, see what it's doing, stop it if it's going to get crazy, and it would not be something hiding in a laboratory somewhere that might take over the world and shock everyone. Even Elon Musk was one of the original investors who put money into it. So a lot of them are really upset that now all of a sudden OpenAI is trying to turn itself into a for-profit public company and rake in billions and billions of dollars. Of course, with the help of Microsoft, who has been the largest donor over the last few years, because they've helped expand it ever since Elon and others sort of pushed away from it, saying, hey, you guys are no longer nonprofit. You're no longer sticking to the idea of being open and transparent with the public. You're doing all this behind closed doors. So, of course, Microsoft wants their pockets to get bigger, because that's the kind of business they're in. That's just what they are. They're for profit. They're not into this to be nonprofit. So you certainly understand why Microsoft and even the current representation of OpenAI, like Altman and others, they've got billion-dollar price tags on the scene right now. They want to rake in those billions. So
this isn't
there's
open.
a dispute right now. It's not over.
It's not OpenAI anymore whatsoever. And we keep saying Microsoft, but we really know. Even though he's stepped down, you remember those articles we covered where they said, oh yeah, he stepped down and separated from the company, but yet he was still involved in almost every part of the daily business. That was stuff that came out later. And by we don't have to talk about Voldemort, but everybody knows.
Well, and Adam, it wasn't just that it was every part of the daily business. The one part of the business that he was so intrigued by, that he was so Mr. Gilly was involved in, was the AI side. That's the one he wanted to have his nose in, and he was there all the time, and still is probably.
You know what? Let's call him Buildemort. I love it. Oh, it's Buildemort. Because then he can't have his little tracker bots go, somebody said my name. I drive myself to work. I'm a normal guy. Okay, buddy. Make sure to go check out Jace if you haven't already. This is a really, really handy kit you can get by talking to a board-certified doctor in a telehealth appointment, just like going to the doctor's, only from the comfort of your couch. You can get a kit that has all of your standard, most commonly prescribed antibiotics in it, and it's all fully, as far as completely one of the easiest things ever, but you are actually getting a certified doctor to do this for you. So it's a very simple system. I know a couple emails that I got said, oh, this seems kind of weird. I'm getting medicine online. This is actually one of the safest ways to do this as far as online. You don't want to go to some of those dark web things. This is a legit thing that you can do. It's a telehealth appointment with a doctor, and boom, you've got yourself a kit with all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics. And you can even get one of their specialty things they do is called Jace Daily. If you're worried about the power going off tomorrow or something happening to the hospitals or pharmacies, like it has, 30,000 pharmacies got knocked down by a cyber attack not too long ago, and people couldn't get their meds or their preferred meds, or they had to pay cash because they couldn't go to their preferred pharmacy because it was hacked. You can get a year supply of your regular medications. Now, I know that everybody debates about whether, big pharma is good or bad, or the medicines that are provided are good. There are some good medications out there, but there's also medications that people are dependent on. And if the lights go off tomorrow, can you stop taking your medications? If the answer is no, then I'd highly recommend looking at this because, again, our system is very fragile. If you look at events like Hurricane Katrina or North Carolina, just keep in mind, there's nobody that's going to be there to save you in a massive event. And if it's nationwide, I can't imagine. It's going to be hell on earth. It'll at least be hell in the United States. If it is a global thing like a solar event that knocks out everything, I don't think anybody could really wrap their head around that. So again, this is a very handy thing to happen. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. It doesn't have to be a cyber attack or anything. These can come in handy for a storm or a natural disaster, any type of event. And to have this, to be able to say, oh my gosh, does anybody have one of these? And you have it. I mean, yeah, it's a huge deal. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jace and make sure to use the code MARF. If you're going to do a service like this, they have a convenience premium on anything like this. You're getting it shipped right to your door. So save money doing it and get a discount with the code MARF and help your favorite channel at the same time. Again, if you are going to do something like this, it is a very convenient thing. Get that savings. Get every dollar you can off on this kind of stuff. marfooglenews.com/Jace. Make sure to use that code MARF. Again, emergency antibiotics in a handy case. You can even add things like albuterol and other emergency medications, so make sure to go check it out. All right, and then let's see here. All Things Random. Hey, thank you. Says they said it goes parallel universe and multidimensional. Oh, was I wrong with the multiverse? Yeah. So that quantum chip that they say they just made, they say that Dex, am I wrong? Didn't they say it actually goes into other dimensions or a parallel universe and comes back or something with the answer?
Yeah, that's their assumption. The fact that it moves so quickly that it must be traversing through multiple universes, and they think that it is proof that there is a multiverse. Now, some skeptics don't agree with it, but many people that believe in the multiverse theory also look at that and think, yeah, there is some potential logic to how this works, because a lot of the ideas around quantum physics and quantum entanglement potentially have to do with using multiple universes, like the fact that you can entangle two parts together and they can know and replicate each other on different parts of the world and not even have any communication or contact or line of sight with each other. things like that are still trying to be understood.
I'm pretty sure I don't know if, because I read an article explaining it. I think I read the same article talking about the entanglement and trying to explain this, and it lost me right away. And I'm like, this is so many of us, even the smartest of us we could be street smart, we could be this. There is so much above 95, 98, 99% of our heads. And meanwhile, the smartest of us are making machines that are going to far outpace us so far that we are not going to be evolving. The computers are, and we're putting ourselves at risk. I think we're stupid by doing all this. But I don't know. Dex, go ahead.
Well, one of the first things that's going to get hit with the whole quantum is outside of AI. If AI doesn't take over first, which I just think that's like the scary thing, is to throw an AI algorithm on a quantum. But the first thing that's really going to hurt us is the lack of security. As soon as quantum computing goes online and has access to everything, then we are going to lose the ability to have secure. When I say secure, I'm talking about encryption, like the fact that you may talk to your bank encrypted, you may be able to store your data encrypted, you may feel like your stuff is safe up here in the cloud, you may have crypto coins or whatever that are encrypted. That will be gone, because the theory is, oh, well, it's a mathematical algorithm to break that encryption, and it's not impossible to break, but it would take 20,000 years or 100,000 years to do it. Well, that doesn't mean anything to a quantum computer, because it can do it in less than a minute. And if it can do it in less than a minute, that means there's zero privacy anywhere in the world from anybody. And especially we should be concerned about if our adversaries get it, because they can use it against our own sources, from everything from NSA to CIA to the military, etc., if that technology comes online.
I won't be surprised if we are covering things in the next couple of years where they take all of our systems offline again and go back to paper. Because at this point, if like he said, quantum will be able to do it so fast, there will be no passwords. There'll be nothing. They could get into any. If China gets this before us, which is another reason why they say this race is going and it can't stop. They can't take a 6-month break. If China gets this, they could hack into our nuclear systems and fire off our missiles at Russia in 10 seconds. That's the kind of thing that is really scary. And so many of our systems are connected to this. I mean, it's really a terrifying thought to see where that goes. And how would you have the same system on Earth that we have right now if this becomes normal? There would be no password. There would be no encryption strong enough to keep anyone out with that. And that's why, going back to what Eric Schmidt said, Dex, he said in the future these things are going to be surrounded by huge anti-air missiles and huge weapons. These are going to be protected in a castle like it's one of the most valuable resources on the planet.
Yeah, very, very true. And I will say this, though, they will make encryption with quantum computing, so it would be so advanced it would require a quantum computer to decode it and crack it, and it'd be impossible. So not only will you lose privacy, you will also have to sort of submit to the new technology as the only form of protection. That's a scary thought too.
Keep in mind, Elon is trying to do the Neuralink, and he says that it is our only way of combating what is to come, that AI is coming so fast that we will have to integrate with computers and with AI. And think about that. If they start putting AI into humans, so you will have that information, that would be an evolution. Dex, that's a scary thought. Think about it. If you put AI and you're able to solve any problem like that, but then where does humanity go? If your thoughts are really just, AI answers, what happens to our soul. I mean, like,
Well, I think before we get there, though, we have to answer the question: is what is the power of the brain, and is the brain more powerful than a computer today, which we know it is? Is it more powerful than AI today, which we know it is? And have we just not been able to unlock it? Like you can take one person who is, a once in a generation, savant who has unlocked an untapped and unfathomable amount of information and capacity in their brain, where the most of us don't have that capability, that ability. So that tells us one thing, that the brain is actually capable of doing so much more than we even do, right? I think they estimate that we use like 20% or 30% of our capacity in our brain. So imagine, how much faster or how much more we could do if we could reach 100%. And then is that enough? Or is that still going to keep us behind the machine, so to speak, where the machine is better than the human?
I thought it was more like 10%. Maybe they've done new studies and now it's up higher, but
it may be that low. I'm thinking like Einstein level is still probably only a small percentage, right?
Yeah.
I
well,
mean,
and I there was a guy downtown Seattle when I was young. I was probably 13, 14, and this guy had a pin on him, and it said, ask me for bus schedule. Back then it was, you couldn't look it up on your phone. The phones we had, like the coolest phone right at that time, I remember too, was those flip phone Motorola's that had crappy, screen on it. Better than a Nokia. But it was like, you couldn't really look things up fast. This guy would hang out downtown Seattle, and some of you may have met this guy. He knew every single bus schedule to every single bus, and Seattle was, for the longest time, number 2. I think they fell to number 3. Most advanced busing system. You could get to anywhere in Washington. I mean, basically, we were number 3 for basically being able to get anywhere you want. You might have to wait, but you will be able to get there by a bus. This guy had every single time, every single bus stop, every single bus, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of buses, thousands, every bus, and he could say on 4th and Jackson, it will come at 7:05, 8:11, 9:10, 9:45. He had all of those memorized. Most of you have probably met a savant, and it really is quite insane what you could do. What if in the future something like the Neuralink would be able to unlock that kind of capability with almost anything? It is straight out of the Matrix. It is Neo. He has talked about it. He says, what if you could just save your life, save all of your memories, almost like saving a video game? That's what he says the future is like. A lot of us are looking at that and going, this is really terrifying. Will there be another option? Will there even be an out for this? Or will you be like a leper once everybody has this and you are the only few that don't? I say let's start a community with no Wi-Fi, no nothing. And I would be totally cool if they just put us all in like a, our own town. Probably be bigger than a town though. Give us New York. Give us New York or something. Or give us back Seattle. Just we'll take Seattle. Seattle's a cool city, minus the people. And no offense. There's cool people here, but just a lot of not cool people. And then mystery drones could be trying to find radioactive material. Now we go deeper into this on our Marfoogle news short. But the another theory that's floating around, and I highly recommend going and watching that news video. We don't normally put 8 or 9 pieces on there, but we did because it was so important, the stuff that is on the front page. Mind you, we covered tonight on this show the back page stuff. I really do think this is the more important out of the two, but I think that they go hand in hand. You need to know what's on the front page and know what's on the back page to understand why that front page news may very well be, and 95% is most likely a psyop or a huge cover-up for something even more nefarious than what people are thinking it's covering. But on this front, these drones took a freaking break on Thanksgiving, and I think that's such a simple thing, and people are, well, it can't be that simple. It really could be. They literally took a freaking break on Thanksgiving. That to me says federal holiday. more than anything, it's like the one day that they weren't seen was on Thanksgiving. Do you think China or Russia care about our Thanksgiving? I'm sorry, I don't think so. But again, there is a theory that these things could be trying to possibly find a radioactive material, that it is sensing something, like there's going to be something. In the future, if we have some sort of big attack, or if we have a mushroom cloud in New Jersey, then we'll know maybe they knew about it beforehand, or maybe they are trying to spot it out. Maybe the intelligence knew that there was something in there, and this is a total way off. It could be an Iranian mothership. It could be a 3-letter agency going up there just to screw around with us, to distract us from what's going on in the back page, all the pardons and all these other things that are going on. Or it could be to put in a new system that will track everything in the air, because it's about to go that way and our culture is about to be flying. But as far as the radioactive stuff, what if they are trying to spot something? What if they have intelligence that somebody got their hands on radioactive material? They know that they're in this rough area, then it disappeared. So now they have these drones doing sections. In the very first week, Dex, do you want to remind them what we saw and what the patterns we saw when we were watching? It almost looked like...
Yeah,
What?
it looked like they were searching. A lot of people were saying it looked like a search pattern, like they were moving from one. And it was suggested in the community that they might be looking for, it could be that they were looking for radioactivity, but now it's come out from, somebody in the field with some expertise that says, yeah, this is actually something that is very legitimate and could be what's happening. And I think a lot of people are questioning that. Now, look at it from the point of view of, this is what the media, or what they want the media to pick up and tell us. So, okay, if that's the case, then really what are they preparing us for? There's been all these rumors that there's been a mass exodus of people trying to, I shouldn't say mass exodus, that's too big, but there's been a lot of people that have mysteriously just like packed up and left New Jersey in a hurry. That's another rumor that's out there. I don't know any of that. I can't confirm it, but I've certainly seen it. And I'm sure you've seen it too in all the conversations that are going on around this. So this whole idea that some people in the know that something's about to happen, or something big is going down, and now they're telling us, look out, they're potentially scanning for radiation, or looking for potential nuclear type devices, certainly sets the stage for a event, whether it's real or orchestrated. And I think that's the thing we got to pay attention to, is what are they trying to do? Or, as we just talked about everything else that's going on, what are they trying to prevent us from seeing, which was everything else in the world, from giving $20 billion to Ukraine last week. If you didn't hear that, we covered it here. You should go watch it. We gave $1 billion also last week before that. So, there's all sorts of, and pardons flying everywhere, and all sorts of things that are just not being talked about because everybody's looking up.
And almost $500 million like the week before. I also heard that rumor too. I thought that this was something super sensationalist, and I thought it was something from whatever, but it has kind of continued. There was a rumor, and I don't want to say a specific name, but there's a person on Twitter that always puts up, people wanted to call us fear, porn and all that. There's people out there that it's clear that they are just going with the first scary thing that they see. They're not giving them the options, or if it's an op or this or that. They're just saying, nope, it's this, and it's the scariest thing ever. When it changes and it's not, they're just like, no, it's this other scary thing. That person put, this video, and there was rumors that these videos were going around of people packing up straight out of like a Greenland, where you see everybody putting stuff into their trunk and leaving. And there was rumors that in New Jersey, you had people videotaping their neighbors and in wealthy neighborhoods leaving, and that those videos were getting taken down. I have only heard that that is kind of sensationalist and fake. But when I go look for videos like that, they probably just don't exist. But you cannot find those. So, I don't know.
But it fits a narrative. If you're trying to put a narrative out, It fits a narrative, and it certainly adds to and
To
creates
the
that
fear.
anxiety and makes everyone go, oh, well, even if I can't prove that part, I can put the rest of these pieces together. And when I put it all together in my mind, this doesn't sound like a good thing. Something bad's about to happen.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes people scared. I mean, that's anxiety 2.0 right there.
Never mind. the weekend before Thanksgiving starts the busiest travel season of the year, right? Or one of them. So a lot of people are packing up the cars to go down to see the family member out of town.
Yeah, it's Christmas month. So, yeah, people packing up their cars and stuff and leaving is not strange. But if you have, like, Greenland, where you see every person on the street, or Independence Day, right? Independence Day, I think that's in that movie, too, the older one with Will Smith, where he walks out after the earthquake and everybody's down the street, like, putting stuff into their trunk. You know, that's something I think a lot of us have, like, envisioned. That would be very scary to see. And realize that you're the last one to find out, right? Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe the O was right. Like, don't look up. Maybe that's what we shouldn't be doing. Like, stop looking up at this and move on to something else.
Ugh, creepy. Now, if you have looked at the price of freeze-dried food, highly recommend getting it into yourself. It is in the long term of things, this is actually a small investment. They are not cheap because these machines are actually some of the best-made machines, the well-built machines in the world. During CV, freeze-dried machines like this were being scalped, and in fact Harvest Right was the hardest one to get your hands on, because Harvest Right is kind of the top name in the industry as far as freeze-drying machines for regular people like you and me. Harvest Right makes extremely good machines. They're extremely easy to use, and you can actually save a lot of money depending on what you're trying to do. If you have a family of 4 and you're trying to get 6 months of food, you will quickly see that freeze-dried food that is pre-packaged by a company, they're charging you for the 24 hours that it took to do it. They're charging you for the packaging. They're charging you for the fancy colors and all of this. When you can do your own Mylar bags, you can do your own freeze-drying at home, and they say on a high estimate, you can pay about 25% of what you would pay for the pre-packaged stuff. So you could literally save, 75% on freeze-dried food that could last up to 25 plus years. So it is an incredible thing, but the even better thing is for the next 14 days, you still have that extended Black Friday. So many people missed the Black Friday that they ended up going back in and they extended it. So up to $900 off. Last year's Black Friday, and there hasn't been a sale like this, was $500 off. Again, there is inflation to account for, but that's still, inflation's about $150. It's even like $300 and something, $250 past that. So this is a giant sale. If you're trying to get into freeze drying, go over and check it out. marfooglenews.com/freeze. And you can even just go over there and enter to win one. You can freeze dry your own dietary stuff, everything in your garden that you're throwing away that you can't eat. You could be freeze drying that. You could be, say, one day a week, there's good sales on the meat you see, and you're like, gosh, the timing of this, I don't need this right now. You could get it, freeze dry it, keep it for 10 years from now. Especially since right now, these and freeze-dried food are just going to keep going up and skyrocket, especially with anything with chips in it is going to go up. Anything with these kind of materials, electronics in them, they're going to go up. So make sure to go check it out. marfooglenews.com/freeze. It helps our channel out. We are completely on our own. We don't have a multi-channel network. We have the Foogle fam. So thank you guys for, again, kicking butt, sharing us out, sharing us to new people. That's our number one thing. Number two, if you want to support us, and it's way better than just giving somebody something. You are getting something out of this that you'll be able to keep forever. And you're helping your favorite channel at the same time as saving money. So up to $900 off, and that includes the normal throw-in of the Premier Pump. All right, and then Jane from Tennessee, thank you so much. Thank you for the support. I appreciate everybody that supported tonight. I wish I could say the same about DLive. I wish we were on DLive still. And X, if you end up watching this from my link thank you, thank you, and thank you. And I appreciate all of you guys that made it tonight. Make sure to thank your mods, especially by going over to marfooglenews.com/friends. You know what I haven't heard in forever? Backslash. Is backslash the opposite of slash? Is it, Dex, is backslash? We don't use backslashes in websites, right?
It's forward slash, not a backslash. So some people say forward slash, otherwise they just say slash.
I kind of remember when the internet first started, they used to say forward slash, friends, I should start saying it just to be nostalgic. Go to marfooglenews.com/friends, because /friends, it just sounds cool, where you can find all of the most awesome mods. And again, they are all doing their service for the community. So thanks again for going over and checking them out. Trinity does deep dives. Wages World is the one who suggested that video that I'll be posting over on Twitter. He is covering solar. Ilea is so funny. She is a natural born, I would say entertainer, but she's just in general a good person. So, and then Dex, go ahead.
I was going to say, check that latest chat from Ewok Jerky.
Okay, let's see here. Ewok Jerky. Let's see here. Ewok Jerky, thank you. It says U-Haul. Oh, okay. So check this out. Oh, that's creepy. So wait. U-Haul from New Jersey to Knoxville is $15,000. From Knoxville to New Jersey is $600. Wait a second. Or wait, is that $1,500? Or is that $15,000?
It looks like 15, but either way, it's significantly different.
So U-Haul from New Jersey to Knoxville, Tennessee is either $1,500 or $15,000. From Knoxville, Tennessee to New Jersey is $600. I don't know if that's a normal U-Haul thing, but that seems kind of sus.
Well, it's always in the past when we used to talk about mass exodus from California and things like that, you could always judge the price of a U-Haul. Like, it would be a fortune to leave California, but it was almost free to drive it into California because they needed them to come in because so many people were moving out. So typically when you see prices like this, it means it's a supply and demand issue. There's not enough U-Hauls in New Jersey, and there's an abundance of them in Knoxville. And if they will go to New Jersey, they'll get to go pretty cheap. So that means there's a lot of people potentially trying to use U-Hauls to get out of New Jersey, according to that, if that stat and information is correct.
Yeah, because even rich people use U-Haul. That's for sure. They might use some private moving company, but a lot of the people that would probably be they're not up there, but they've probably gotten a heads up. They will be using a U-Haul. That's creepy. Ewok Jerky, thank you for the support. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, WizGen. Diana Bowles, thank you for subscribing. We have Karen Juarez just subscribed. Thank you, guys. And, hey, I appreciate joining us. Make sure to check out the website. You have a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. Not too many people actually utilize that. So make sure to. There's not too many channels that actually do that. So I'll show you that here now. Let's see here. Let's see here. Why can't I find it here? Let's see. Yeah, so just go to the main website, look for today's thumbnail. They released a list of American targets, and you will be brought to a full bibliography. So we put a lot of effort into every single show. If you can utilize this, it's all archived for years. You can go back. You can use the search at the very top corner. You can say Bigfoot. And if there's a news story about it and we've covered it, 2023, 2022, 2021, you can go back years, and then you can go to that show. You can watch the show right there on the website, and you can see all of the back articles from that day. What's really cool about this is you can go back through time. It's kind of like its own little archive because we put together all of the most important news for that day. You can go to this and look at this. Facebook's secret blacklist of dangerous groups and people. Did a meteor explode over New Hampshire? It's kind of cool to just click on any crazy show back then. Look at this. This was October 13, 2021. Putin boasts hypersonic nukes capable of wiping out U.S. cities are bigger, better, and already on alert, sparking World War III fears. It's crazy. Even back then, he looked a little bit weightier. Utilize it. It's there. And thank you, guys. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. Thank you, Dex. I appreciate your service. I appreciate you so much.
Much love. Great job, brother.
It's a shout. I did it, and I thought I didn't do it. Shoutro.